Okay, guys, so just to talk to you again about the schedule here, and then obviously the Summer 5 rerun. I basically just wanted to point out that, again, on JP, the Grail Front ran May 12th to May 26th, and it pretty much after the first week immediately got overlapped with the Summer 5 rerun. I'm expecting now the same thing pretty much to happen on NA here, so pretty much guessing that we're going to have Summer 5 rerun on May 15th for an A, because that'll be the end of the first week of our Grail Front. Again, that does mean that they basically have 6 weeks until early June, kind of when they said that they were going to do Lost Belt 6. So I'm going to assume at that point that they basically are either going to run Lost Belt in some way that it either overlaps with the anniversary or with the Summer 5 rerun. Those are the two very logical things to overlap with. I have seen some theories about them possibly doing, like, say, all 3 parts at once. That could be a thing, but I am pretty much thinking they won't, because a big reason why they did the 3 parts broken up for Lost Belt 6 was that they actually wanted to gate people for story. They wanted to make sure that people weren't spoiling other people. So if the NA localization staff has any sort of idea as to that being the case, I imagine they'll repeat that. If they don't know, then that's another thing that, yeah, maybe they won't do it. But I'm pretty much expecting at this point that you're going to see all of June taken up by the Lost Belts, and then early July you'll have Anniversary, and then probably Lost Belt 6.3 after that. But we'll just have to see. So again, just kind of wanted to mention that about the schedule. But we haven't had an announcement, at least so far as of me recording, for the Summer 5 rerun event, but I just kind of wanted to briefly talk about it. Most of you guys did it last year. You guys should already know the drill. It is a essentially like mission-based spawn increase event. So you're going to have craft essences that increase the chance for rare spawns. The base spawn rate in the event is, I believe, 25%. You get, I think it's 30% per MLB of the spawn CE, but the game does not really balance around you having 100%, so you don't have to worry about that. The missions are kind of something where, yeah, as long as you don't get totally screwed by RNG, should be able to complete them, especially the rare spawns, relatively quick. I think the weird ones are going to be, again, the day-night particular missions, and that's going to be one of the things that we'll talk about as we go through. So, again, obviously, if you want a more, like, in-depth guide for the actual event, I'm going to tell you guys, go check out something like Game Press. They do really great write-ups for step-by-step progression through the event. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of quickly run you through here to give you guys an idea of what to pay attention to. Hopefully, for those of you guys that did everything last year, you got everything, because if you did, you should be able to get some rare prisms from this event this year. You'll also should have the return of the Chaldea Pathfinder Mystic Code. This is our quick Mystic Code that's got NP damage on it as well. So it's not a bad one. It's a pretty decent one. It's got charge in it, and it's, again, something that I'm going to say eventually Quick will probably use, should the Quick system get a little bit better and we find it to be a little bit more robust. I think one of the issues with using any sort of Mystic Code that has Quick on it, though, is that as of right now, your big supports for the Quick system are all super quick oriented. They all provide a lot of quick steroids. So at that point, you're kind of just doubling up there, and you'd actually get a little bit further with maybe something like Fragment of 2004. In a lot of cases, that's going to increase the NP generation as well as the NP damage, and that'll scale a little bit better multiplicatively, not only with the other quick buffs, but also if you were to have someone like, say, Oberon in the comp. Now, again, you will have Consort U Lancer as your welfare in this one. She's a really nice one. She's basically the 4-star version of Summer Tamamo in that sense. She is anti-male. She has charge in her kit, and she is quick-oriented. So again, a lot of people just really like her character and are going to go after her for that alone. But if you guys didn't get her the last time, you can get her here. And if you did get her the last time, you could actually get rare prisms from collecting her copies, so make sure you do that. And then, again, you will have double experience for her, so you won't necessarily need to be using nearly as much experience to actually level her. I think it's something on the realm of like 200-ish embers in order to be able to max her, which you pretty much get by virtue of the event. And again, I'm going to tell you guys, try not to actually put in full stacks of embers, because with that double experience proc, if you get a like super greater success chance proc go off, like, you're going to end up wasting experience. So try to maybe, like, you know, put in a couple at a time and kind of fish for the procs and see what you get. You've also got the return of Mash's basically new summer costume. She already had another summer costume, but this one's her newer one. And then you've got the male summer costumes as well from this event the prior year round. And again, you will get various things, including rare prisms and potentially mana prisms for collecting any of the stuff that you didn't already have, or sorry, that you did already have. So looking at the schedule of the event, it is a time-locked event. You will see basically as you go through the event, each new day will basically unlock new acts, and you're going to go through a day-night cycle of the event, almost like for any of you guys that played Hollow Ataraxia and stuff like that. Very similar type of system. The good news is, after a certain point, you actually gain the ability to be able to manually switch between day and night at the press of a button. So that's really nice if you end up having a couple of leftover missions or something that you want to do. In fact, I believe the Game Press guide pretty much centers everything on doing all the daytime missions, because the nighttime missions are very easy to complete, so they kind of just save them for last, if I remember correctly. Again, looking at the event bonus, it's pretty much just going to be all of your summer units as well as the new units for this event, so nothing too much that you guys got to worry about here. There's not really any sort of like drop bonus or point bonus for the event. Again, it's a mission event, so don't worry too much about that. But certainly if you really want to abuse damage or bond, feel free to take one of the like higher end units here, which is going to be your 2 SSRs from the gacha as well as your welfare. Now again, your first summoning campaign is going to be Summer Kiara, and again, she's a really fantastic unit. I might end up doing an analysis here for her if I actually have the time. But she is a unit that has held up, I'd say, pretty well over time on JP, because while she's not necessarily the best looper and refunder, she's actually pretty damn good for challenge content. In fact, she is one of the solutions for the Tunguska raids that happen at the end of the year, particularly the big one. She is actually a demonic beast servant, so you can utilize her effectively in that. So if you're looking for someone to maybe help you through that and you're not planning on rolling someone like, say, Melisson or something like that, Summer Kiara can be another solution to that problem. Again, though, still, she's really good at challenge solutions. She hits like a truck as long as her third skill lands. So I highly recommend taking a look at her and seeing, just because she is very powerful for what a Moon Cancer is. You've got Ilya Archer here as another 4-star, and she is a very good 4-star quick archer. She's AoE, but she's a little bit more charge focused as opposed to someone like, say, Atalanta, who's a little bit more refund focused. So Atalanta loops a little bit easier and just kind of generates a lot of stars and kind of is going to be one of those units that a lot of people have. But when you consider the fact that you've got weird nodes and you have times where quick maybe doesn't get enough refund, all of a sudden a unit like Ilya here is going to look a little bit better having that charge for more future proofing in the long term. So again, it's up to you to determine whether or not you actually want to go after her. And then you've got Summer Bryn Berserker, and she's honestly a very interesting one. I've likened her to almost an AoE form of like Penth. She has actually some survivability unlike Penth, but she does get that sort of like 20% charge per turn that can be really good. She also dabbles in the Brynhilder's Beloved trait. Not only will that buff anybody in the party that has Brynhilder's Beloved, but she can also buff herself. And again, it's one of those things where even though her damage isn't the greatest in the long term, like if you start trying to compare her to someone like Arjuna Alter or Summer Ibuki, or again any number of other really high rarity berserkers, she won't really look that strong. But she's still a pretty decent quality unit, especially if you need a decent AoE berserker, because she does have that charge, she does have that survivability. Now, again, we've got the male summoning banner here, and this is going to be Sigurd Lanling Wang and Emiya. Really not too much to write home about here. Sigurd's already had his NP interlude as a Saber. I think a lot of people sort of dog him for not doing too much in the NP damage charts. But again, remember, not everything is NP damage, and Sigurd has an extremely high attack power amongst all the Sabers that are out there, and he has 100% crit damage, so you can make that man hit really hard if you actually get his buffs to line up. Lan Ling as well can actually be really good as a sort of arts-based buff success chance type of support. So anyone that uses Imperial Privilege or any sort of percent chance skill that can fail, on activation, Lan Ling's got that buff success chance to help them out. So he could be a really, really nice one to have, even though he is permanent. And then Emiya as well is permanent, but you guys should know by now, Emiya is actually pretty good, especially with all the buffs that he's gotten over time. His third skill can change him from a Buster unit into an Arts Looper, so that can be really, really solid for him as well, especially if you have a unit like, say, Castoria or something to really help that. But again, I'm going to say the male units here are definitely solid, but it's up to you to determine whether or not you want to roll, especially with how many good banners we have coming up in the future. So then we get to the summoning banner number 2, and a lot's been said here about Summer Abbey. She's an AoE Buster Foreigner. I think a lot of people have a tendency to basically compare her to other foreigners out there, and certainly now that we have someone like, say, Kukulkan on JP that hits really hard, there's definitely going to be a lot of comparisons drawn between her and her. But I will say this, Summer Abbey has at least the sleep buff that she can apply to enemies. Makes it really annoying for them. She can basically just put them to sleep and either not deal with them or kind of abuse that to get a little bit more damage, a little bit more firepower out of it. The way I actually choose to look at Summer Abbey here is basically she is a 50% charge on command type of unit, and she is more of a like single target with splash damage is how I choose to look at it. Her AoE capacity is actually not that good unless you really start like spreading her debuffs around, but she can be a decent unit for you, especially if you need a foreigner. She actually is pretty okay at locking down certain enemies. So I'm actually going to say that I feel like she gets a bad rap from the community, and it's not really that deserved. Now, Tomoe Saber here, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think she's one of the like most gorgeously designed summer units. All of her ascensions just look great. But one of the issues I think Summer Tomoe has at this point in time is that there's just so many prolific loopers out there, and Summer Tomoe just does not really fit into that category. She can be made to loop, but it will be difficult and it'll pretty much require 3 supports most of the time, or some sort of lucky carding to bail you out. And in fact, that's really where Summer Tomoe's strength is having okay refund, but still having really strong crit power. She actually has a Star Bomb and stars per turn, and then also has 100% crit damage in her kit. So as I like to say it whenever I put her in my party, I like girls with big crits, and she is definitely a girl that qualifies under that. Murasaki Rider's another interesting one. She's actually a very debuff-oriented arts rider. And normally that would be a little bit of an issue for me. I actually prefer units that buff themselves over debuff the enemy, because then you don't have to worry about them resisting or anything like that. But if you're gonna rely on a debuff unit, Murasaki Rider's a really good one, because out of all of those types of units, she has the capacity in her kit to sort of make sure that her debuffs land. Obviously, it's not going to help if the enemy is debuff immune, but outside of circumstances like that, she has enough debuffs basically to help her overcome any sort of magic resistance that the enemy might have. Now, again, I do actually think that she can be a pretty quality single target looper for you in that regard. Her card performance is pretty awesome, doubly so because she's actually okay with star generation. So I've actually used her quite prolifically on the JP account, and not so much here on NA, but that's just because more of my NA is stacked. So again, it's one of those deals where I can definitely say that she can be a quality single target damage option for you, doubly so if you never got someone like, say, Ryoma Rider in the past, who is also single target in arts. Asagami Fujino, this is going to be a tough one for a lot of people, I think, because the jury's still out as to how these banners will go. We got to assume it's going to be a little bit of a potluck. It's going to be sort of affected by the fact that we have pity, but maybe they'll spread it out. Maybe they'll do it a little bit differently. But I think the fact that we got Fujino last year saved a lot of people, because we weren't supposed to get her with the initial run last year. But I actually predicted that they would bring her early, and thankfully that helped some people roll for her early and kind of get her completed for those that really wanted her. Because now this year it is looking like you're going to probably be impacted by the new pity structure for how the banner will work. So again, hopefully it's not just a 3-way there with all the 4 stars, but if it is, it is. But again, I'm just going to say Fujino is a very difficult unit to get your hands on. She is a limited 4-star archer, but she has not had a lot of banners over time. She is single target, she is buster, and honestly the best thing that I could say is she's actually decently tanky and can deal some good damage, especially against super large enemies, basically. So she actually has fairly good niche there, though remember you do also have units out there like again, say like David, that may be able to like sort of overlap a little bit with her. So it's up to you to decide if you really want her, but she is a quality unit, definitely nice in the fact that she has guts and defense. So again, it's up to you to determine whether or not you wish to roll. Now, just really quickly here, looking at the banner here, showing you guys the craft essences. I could not go through this event and review it without mentioning Honey Lake. Honey Lake is one of the best damage CEs in the game out there now. It is basically 40% extra damage against enemies that have burn status on them. It is all attack scaling, and it's invuln pierce. So what a lot of people do is, obviously you can use it on someone like, again, the servant pictured, Yang Gefei there, and you can get a lot more damage out of her. But you can just throw command codes that apply burn onto a unit and be able to take advantage of Honey Lake. So it's why it's one of the more sought after craft essences. And unlike something like Black Grail, which will allow you to do more NP damage than this, you still get the benefit even on your card attacks. So that can be really nice, especially in some sort of knockdown, drag out challenge fight, which is where people see a lot of use for this. It's up to you to determine if you actually want to roll to get MLB of it. If you're close last year, it might be worth throwing a little bit more at the gotcha to try and see if you can finish it off. But again, it's up to you. I'm going to say even getting just one copy of this CE would probably help people out quite significantly, because again, it is a very solid one, and I'm sure people out there would really just like to see any sort of craft essence like this for the other ailment types like curse and poison. But again, that is absolutely going to be the #1 craft essence in this event that you're going to want to try to get. Innocent Blue is okay. It's invincibility 2 times. Its art's up of 10%. This is going to be your male banner 5-star. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's okay is all I'll say. Happy Drive here is going to be, again, your female 4-star. And it's split stats, and then it's arts up, crit damage, and NP gain. It's all together, it's not a bad one, but it's not all attack scaling. But again, it's only a 4-star craft essence, so you're probably not going to try to actually level it up, so you don't really care as long as it's got okay stats. Climbing Battle is going to be your 4-star for the males. This one is all attack, and it's quick and buster with NP gain. Actually not a bad craft essence for a 4-star, but again, probably some better options out there that you could choose to invest in instead. Horror Concierge here is going to be our 3-star. It is, again, all attack scaling. It allows you to deal 15% extra damage to undead. So basically a nice power mod craft essence there. Those are fairly rare. So definitely an okay 3-star craft essence there, especially if you had just maybe nothing better for something going up against undead. And then Barbecue Buddies here is your male. It is all HP scaling, and it has evasion 1 time, NP damage of 3%, and critical damage of 3%. This would actually be okay if it didn't have the NP damage and maybe had something like NP gain instead, because the fact that it's centered around a little bit more of a survival aspect than it's all HP scaling means you'd probably want to put it on a support rather than a damage dealer. But still, it is what it is. Again, I don't really expect too much out of 3-star craft essences in an event like this. Okay, so again, they do have a guide actually here on Fandom if you want to go through it. I'm not going to bother, but it's more of just a quick farming guide so you guys have a quick overview for sort of looking at what the nodes actually give. Yes, there is actually a node that does give eggs. Typically at the end of this event, some people actually do sit there and go after the egg node, and that's just because they maybe are sort of hard up for that material. I'm also going to point out that yes, in fact, there is arrowheads here in one of the nodes as well, but again, keep in mind the drop rates, especially with the AP efficiency being something like 40 AP, it's probably not going to be better than just farming the actual free quest. And if you really need something like arrowheads, I would tell you to instead wait for the actual node at Summer 6, where you're going to be grinding that node a lot for the actual treasure chest drops in it, and it does drop arrowheads at a decent clip. So again, up to you to determine where you want to actually farm, but if you're trying to pre-farm, get ahead of the LB6 stuff, now's not the worst time to do it. So again, just keep that in mind. And again, we do get the strengthening here for Fujino. It's her NP interlude, so definitely something that she likes, and this is where she gets the super large buff. So really, really nice, nice damage increase for her. Now, looking at the overall event shop here, we do actually have 2 other craft essences in the event that I didn't show you here because they are part of the natural mission side of the event. Number 1 here is Hide Hunter. And again, you can see this is going to be your damage CE for the event. Basically, single copy is 100%, MLB is 200%. It has, again, NP generation rate of 20%, critical damage of 20%, and a star bomb of 20 at the beginning of battle. All attack scaling. It's actually not that bad. It's a little bit of a weird hybrid having a star bomb and something like that, but if you're planning to rotate a unit in and you need stars on demand with that rotation, that's not a bad craft essence because it's actually going to allow the unit to continue to function well by increasing their crit damage and their NP generation rate. So still, not a very bad one. It's obviously very nice artwork done by Shaka P. Now, again here, you guys can see you will have some of the, again, some of the costumes here in the shop. I'm not sure that these have been added to the Miss Crane shop still. I think some of them have, but some of them haven't. So or maybe some of them have, but they're not free yet still. So they still cost rare prisms. So I would highly recommend picking these up at minimum if you get the opportunity to, even if you don't have the unit, because you never know. You might GSSR the unit, you might get lucky and you know, have them spook you if they're a permanent unit. So it's always worth picking up the costumes instead of just leaving it all to chance. But again, you guys can see here, you'll actually get some fruit. That's going to be good for some of our upcoming units. And again, some Chaos Claws and definitely some shells leading into summer is, I'm sure, going to be good for people. You'll also have the Golden Foes and, again, your green command key there. I highly recommend not picking up the command code remover. They are functionally defunct in the game. They don't actually do anything. If you actually read on fandom, I believe it still says that it like gives you the QP back for using them. It does not. It's a trap. It's basically just a misunderstanding. But again, I have actually tested this. It doesn't actually do anything of value. It just basically gives you the key back and relocks the slot, which I'm sorry at that point, as long as you're just not, you know, using your keys instantly and regretting your decisions, should be fine basically to just never actually have to pick up a command code remover. Now, looking at the silver version of the shop here, you have, again, another copy of Hide Hunter, another costume there, 10 meteor shards, 20, oh god, what is it, permafrost, there you go. I just call it ice normally most of the time. 20 Magatamas, 20 Night Metals. Those are actually going to be, again, really good for those of you guys headed into rolling maybe that first banner in particular on Lost Belt 6. You guys are going to need Night Metals like crazy for some of these new units coming out in LB6. However, you will be able to get them from the lotto that should be happening in July. So again, look forward to that. As long as you're patient with that, you should definitely be able to get enough for your units. You've then got all the silver statues. I actually recommend getting these over the golden ones if you have the opportunity to, just because they're a little bit harder to get. But certainly if you need the gold more, go for them. It's just up to you to determine whether or not you actually need statues in the long run. Again, you've got another gold foe here, a blue command key. Those are actually worth, but again, the command code remover is not. And then for the bronze part of the shop here, you've got one more Hide Hunter. So again, that should be, yeah, there were 2 in the gold shop here. So that should be 4 Hide Hunters. Probably a 5th in the missions if I had to go look. But again, definitely nice there to get that. And then now we've got our other craft essence here, Chainsaw of the Dead. And this one's actually another really nice one. This is going to be your spawn rate craft essence that you heard me talking about at the beginning there, where again, it's going to increase the rare enemy appearance rate by 15% and then 30% at MLB. So again, remember, you have a base chance to spawn rare enemies of 25%. So you don't necessarily need to have 100% here. Don't freak out about that. But if you want to take an MLB of your own and then an MLB of a support, that can definitely work in your favor. It's just you'll find that you're probably completing the rare spawn missions faster than you would actually get to the MLB. So don't worry too much about having to do that. But again, the craft essence itself is not that bad. It is all HP scaling, and actually it increases arts performance by 10%, increases critical resistance by 10%, and then starts battle with 50% gauge. This can actually be a pretty decent CE for an arts support unit. Obviously, I probably, in a lot of cases, prefer something like Prisma if I'm having to go the distance. But this could be bad because it's gonna, pretty good because it's going to reduce a lot of the crits that'll happen against them. It's gonna allow them to start closer to their MP, and it's still gonna give them that arts up performance for kind of, you know, carding better and getting back to the NP a little bit faster. So all in all, especially with the HP scaling here, not a bad one for a support. Now, again, you've only got the one copy right there, though. You've got another costume, and then so the rest of the bronze shop here is going to be 20 Aurora Steel, 20 LB3 bells, and 30 bones. Again, your last gold foe there, and then your normal silver foes. Also, both your 4-star and 3-star embers, I do recommend picking them up unless you've gotten all of your units leveled up. Even then, still probably a good idea if you're planning on grailing people. And then you've got the command code key for the red variety, the Buster one. So again, another nice pickup there, and then just skip over the command code remover. Now, looking at the main quest, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I am going to say, yes, again, you will get Chaldea Pathfinder relatively early there. And then again, also the MASH swimsuit there pretty quickly in. So this is a really nice event. I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't read the story, but it is, again, a more like horror mystery type of event, and it does have quite a bit of plot twists in there. It definitely tries to throw you for a loop and let you not catch on to things. So again, I hope you guys enjoy it. I actually enjoyed it a lot more on NA getting to read it than I did on JP, but there were some moments where I was like, it was just okay. So again, up to you. Certainly not my favorite summer event, but still not a bad one. Now, again, looking at the mini scenarios, you actually are going to get these throughout the thing. You're going to get little tapes that basically allow you to go do one of these file quests, essentially. And again, just, you know, go through it, go do those. Some of them are actually, I believe, essential for progressing in missions and stuff like that. So just take your time with it, do everything you can, complete everything, and you should be good there. Again, there is going to be a part 1 and a part 2. Not going to spoil that for you either. Just understand you will at a certain point also get the ability to shift from day to night on command. So don't freak out too much as you go through the forced day-night cycle, because basically how it works, especially going back and looking at that schedule there, is that as you do some quests, it'll end up rotating you to night if you keep progressing the main quest. So main quest progression is what changes it from day to night until you get that unlock. So if you want to sit in daytime or you want to sit in nighttime, don't do the main quest right away. It's up to you to determine where and how to spend it. But again, I believe, like I said, the Game Press guide just kind of quickly shifts you back to daytime as fast as possible, just for the purposes of efficient progression. So it's up to you. But again, you will have the opportunity to go back and adjust. You've also got some free quests here, which again, basically you're going to have, you know, decent rewards out of these. Like I already mentioned, there is the one out there that gives the egg node. I believe it is one of the nighttime nodes. There's your, right here, the private house during the day is your arrowhead node. But let me see if I can find it. Okay, yeah, so there is an A side and a B side. Not going to spoil that for you, but the B side of daytime is where you've got the eggs on the western house. And again, if you need to see what it looks like, that is what the node looks like for it. But otherwise, again, it's a fairly straightforward event. There are a lot of missions here. Again, the missions are going to be where you're going to get your Consort U copies. Don't forget, whenever you get a mission-based event with a welfare, the second you get that welfare, put them in the back of your party, level them up as fast as you can, because oftentimes getting them ascended a number of times and getting them bonded to a certain point or using them in enough missions tend to be part of your missions. So as long as you're kind of like leveling them and putting them in the back line of your party, you should be okay. Now, again, you guys can see you will get some nice rewards. There is another copy of Chainsaw of the Dead, so that makes 2. There's another copy, so that makes 3. There's another copy, so that makes 4 that now exist. And then continuing to look through here, again, you will have the sort of Ascension mats for Consort U-Lancer in here. There's another one right there. This one is actually a burn command code. So you heard me talking about, again, the Honey Lake craft essence there that you guys can get from the gacha in this event. There is one of your craft essences that can actually help you apply burn to your enemies. So definitely a solid one. It's mission 48 here. Defeat 5 enemies with Divine Trait. And then looking through, continuing to look for that. You've got more command codes here. And then right there at the end, there is your 5th copy of Chainsaw of the Dead. So should be able to get all 5 copies of that. It's Hide Hunter that you won't have 5 copies of, so you'll need a drop for that if you want it. But again, remember, Hide Hunter's your damage sheet. You shouldn't have to fret about that too much. You're probably not really going to actually need that in the event. And again, you've got another command code in here. This one's actually the bunny command code. I could talk for like an hour about that command code, but I will spare you guys. But again, you've got a challenge quest here as well. This one's actually a pretty interesting one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the Camper King. It's definitely one that actually, if you ended up having someone like, again, Summer Kiara, she actually worked really well in that, but there were numerous ways you could loop through it. Again, not going to spoil you on that either. But you will get the crystallized lore for completion. You're going to get a grail for completing the main quest as well, so just understand that all that's there. Let me actually see if I can find the command codes for you. I don't remember if they're in here or not, but they should be listed somewhere in here, just to give you guys a quick brief overview of them. Here you go. So basically, Mask of Concealed Beauty is the other one. It's your 4-star when using the encoded card increases buff success rate by 20%, 1 time 2 turns. Again, this one's actually a really, really nice one. It is card reliant. You would have to get the card, but essentially this can help out a lot of those units that you have out there that have a chance to fail type of skill. Doubly so if they're one of those units that has an 80% chance success skill. So actually, like Da Vinci and Tesla both have skills like that. You can definitely utilize this effectively on someone like that. And actually, hilariously enough, both of those units have had a buff that now sort of gets rid of the need for that. But certainly this command code is one of the only ones out there that does buff success rate, so it is a good one for you. Again, just looking at the 3-star here, it is basically going to be whenever you use it on the encoded card, it will inflict burn status to the enemy for 300 damage for 3 turns, increasing the engraved card's crit damage as well by 5%. You don't really care about anything else there other than the burn for proccing, again, additional damage with something like Honey Lake, or again, if you're someone like Yang who gets more damage against burn targets. There you go. So really, really a nice one there. And then your 5-star. This 5-star is such a wonky one. Royal Bunny. So when using the encoded card, it increases quick Buster Arts Performance cards by 10% for 1 turn. It's really, really weird because it's RNG, so it could be either total crap or really good depending on what cards you have in your hand at the time. Again, the fact that it is just a raw stat boost is what makes it strong, but the RNG aspect is what ultimately tames it because you have no guarantee whether or not you get the cards that you actually want. So that's kind of one of the issues that you'll run into. But again, that is the event in a nutshell. Let me know if you guys have any questions, but it is a very straightforward event. It is a 3-week event. You have plenty of time to complete it, and it only has a Fuyuki clear requirement. So again, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think I can improve my event guides in any way, shape, or form. I'd be happy to talk more about the events because there's a lot I do know about them that maybe I realize now after the fact. But again, It's just something where I try to do these a little bit off the cuff, try to make them as informal as possible so that you guys can actually get to the nitty-gritty info pretty quickly here. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys for the next one.